Hello again. I decided to do this video on the vegetarian thing because, partially because I still haven't looked up that other word that I wanted to do a video on, and it would sound kind of silly of me to talk about it without knowing what the word for it is. Sorry about the camera angle there. Sometimes I accidentally angle it up and such. Let's see. So, as I said, my reasons are very different from Katie's for why we are vegetarians. And, I'm not saying anything wrong with hers. In fact, I'm not even going to say what hers are. But I'd like to talk about my reasons and why I feel that if a lot more bigger organizations like PETA took this viewpoint and took this stand, then they might actually make a lot more of a difference than right now they are making. Now, essentially, looking at, the general meat market, they have absolutely no incentive to treat animals with any kind of respect, with any kind of decency. Obviously they have to operate within these very thin guidelines of, not being too cruel to them, quote unquote, but these guidelines are not nearly strict enough, and animals are essentially allowed to be tortured, and, if torturing an animal makes it easier for them to produce the meat of that animal, then in general the decision will be made to do that because it's, considered more economical. It's considered, better for their budget if they just go through the easier way that happens to cause the animal more suffering, and they don't care because the animal's just going to die anyway. But, I don't feel that this is acceptable. I don't feel that, animals, especially animals, they say that pigs are as intelligent as dogs, and I've met a few pigs, I believe it. Would you want a dog, for anyone who's ever, met a dog, played with a dog, would you want a dog to have to go through torture just so that you can have some bacon, And just because we don't have pigs as pets, people turn the other way about it. They don't really think too much about it. And I am not actually opposed to eating meat in and of itself. If I could be guaranteed that the pigs I was eating lived a, happy life in whatever kind of pig environment they would prefer, and, just grew up and then died in a painless way, not even, to an old age, but just to, a reasonable age, and then died in a painless way, then I would be perfectly okay with that. I would go back to eating meat, obviously only the meat that I could be guaranteed that all of this was true for, but I would eat meat under those circumstances. The problem is that, like I said, there's no incentive for the big companies to do this, so they don't. Now, the problem with organizations like PETA is it PETA or PETA? I don't know, I don't care. But the problem with those is they're not giving any kind of reason, because their message is essentially, don't eat meat ever, it's wrong. That is, if you look at any of their stuff, in fact, they go even a step further and say, don't eat any animal products ever, it's wrong. Don't eat eggs, don't eat this, that, the other thing. Even if it's produced in perfectly, acceptable standards, they say it's still wrong to eat it. Now, even if the companies took the extra precautions and said, okay, we're going to be, nice, humane, we're going to, let these creatures live a nice life, have a little bit of space to move around in interact, all that good stuff that they like, and then we're going to kill them in a painless way. Even if the organizations did that, which would cost them extra money, people at PETA would not say, okay, now it's okay to eat meat. They would still say it is wrong. And all of their followers would also still not eat it. Therefore, there is no incentive for these people to change. Now, if there was a big organization, and this organization took the standpoint, the torture is wrong, the eating is not wrong. We're naturally meat eaters, we are omnivores, it is, perfectly natural, animals eat animals, we are animals, there's no reason we can't eat animals. And that's how I feel. And if more big organizations took that standpoint, but then said, but on the other hand, what's going on with animals right now is unacceptable, and we won't eat it until we can have meat that, comes from a, non-torture, non-cruel source. Then the big organizations, the big, meat producer organizations would basically say, okay, look, now there's these people who are willing to pay extra money in order to get this, cruelty-free meat, and they're not going to buy from us if, we don't produce it that way. So then they might give a lot more thought into it and might say, okay, well, let's try this out and see how many customers we get. And if the following was large enough, then things would start to lean more and more that way. People would realize, if they made a big enough deal, most people aren't willing to say, I'm never going to eat meat again. It's unfortunate, but the average person simply is not willing to say that. But the average person might say, okay, this is wrong what you're doing to animals, and I'm going to essentially boycott meat until it improves. And in that case, with that many more people deciding that, it would improve. And this is really what I feel that a lot of the big, vegetarian organizations should be leaning towards. This is the message that they should be spreading. Or at the very least, they should be saying, if you want to agree with us and not eat meat, that's great. If you want to eat meat someday, well, look at all these cruel things. When these end, you can eat meat again. And, spread that message as well. A lot of the time they're taking this very militant, you're with us or against us kind of standpoint and trying to guilt you into. They use absolutely every means they can possibly think of to try and get people to stop eating meat. And it's just ridiculous. Some of the reasons they give are absolutely ridiculous. And it makes it much harder for people to take their message seriously. So this is really, this is how I feel about vegetarianism, and this is why I am not supporting the meat market and am a vegetarian at this time. I don't know if there is an organization. I really hope there is, and I hope that I'll find it, that actually promotes my message, that agrees with me that, eating meat is okay, but not under the current circumstances. And, I hope that, assuming such an organization exists, or, if it doesn't exist, that will be created, and then gain a lot more press. Right now, PETA, however you want to say it, is the only big organization out there. When you ask people, okay, what's a vegetarian organization? PETA, people people for the ethical treatment of animals, and, they're not sending the right message. They're not giving the right image of people like me. So, this video is probably run a bit long. I'm going to go ahead and end it now, especially because I'm getting to the end of my trip. I might do another video on my way home, I might not. Either way, I'm going to try to convert and upload this video during class so that you'll be able to watch this later today, even by noon, hopefully. 11 o'clock even. Okay, you have a great day. Hope I didn't get too much in your face preachy, because I really do hate that. But, this is the message that I'd like to spread about this. And I guess if you really were bothered by the whole vegetarian thing, you probably wouldn't have watched the video at all. Okay, have a great day.